We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners. Why? Why would you need that? Does anybody have any idea?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
And it makes a great Christmas gift for not just frogs, but humans as well. BetterWater.com. Mason Fleming is producing. Jay Harper's in the newsroom, and we got a lot to get to today. Phone lines are open, as always, 615-737-9986. You can call in. You can text in. You can listen to the show on iHeart, tune in the FM dial. You can watch the show. Super Talk TV, up and running on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Get the video with all the audio that you hear on your radio. We got a lot to talk about today. We got, I don't necessarily know if you would call it updates in the Browns shooting. There's really been no new news, but there's been a lot of reaction. And it seems like there's a police department that can't get out of their own way, and we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the updates from Australia. Again, no new news other than the reaction coming in, and it seems like the reaction we're getting from the Australian government is, you know what they need? More gun control. Huh. That's weird. I'm not sure that's going to work out the way they think it is, but we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some positive developments in the economy. Once again, the naysayers are doing just that. They're going to naysay. They're going to say nothing's working. The economy's going to crumble. We're going to go into a recession and a depression, and somebody think of the children. Why aren't you thinking of the children? Just the numbers came out again. It looks pretty good. It looks like we're moving in the right direction. And the fun thing about the economy is that I can say President Trump is making the right steps in the economy. I can say that. And others can get on and say President Trump is making terrible moves in the economy. And they can say that. But in about 6 months' time, one of us will be proven correct or incorrect. I don't know which one I'm going to be. I don't know. I do tend to think that I'm going to be right because I see the moves that are being made and I know the fruit that's going to be bared. And I have a hard time believing that the economy is going to crumble under Donald Trump. So we'll talk about that as well. New updates coming out on the economy. Plus, we have a bit more updates on the New Year's Eve terror attack that was foiled. We have another instance of what can only be described as radical Islamic terror in Washington State. We'll talk about that, an attack on police that is just devastating. And then we have some updates on Rob Reiner and some reaction as well. Again, a lot to get to today. not a lot of time. And you're welcome to join the show and discuss any of it. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Today, let's begin with what's happening in Brown. I had mentioned the lackluster response by the police department there, and it's really just how they're responding to the questions in the press conference. It doesn't exactly fill people with a lot of hope. It doesn't. They seem bumbling. They seem like they're disjointed, and they seem woke. Just woefully woke. President Trump was asked about what happened at Brown yesterday, and he said what we're all thinking. Hopefully they catch this animal. And it's amazing to me how they haven't caught him yet. You know, a campus with 800 cameras, and we get lousy video. Days late. They got a guy, person of interest. They geolocated him. They found him sitting in a hotel room, and they let him go. Wasn't the right guy. Can we just catch the monster? President Trump yesterday.
We're going to see what happens. Hopefully they're going to capture this animal. Hopefully they're going to capture him.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it with Charlie, with, the various times this has happened. They've done it in pretty much record time. But you'd really have to ask the school a little bit more.
You'd really have to ask the school a little bit more. Rhode Island is in charge of the investigation. The school does have some questions to answer. Why don't we have a better video of this guy? This is when the press conference went off the rails yesterday. You had the mayor of Rhode Island. You had the chief of police, who's, just for the record, seems like a diversity hire. And you have reporters who are demanding answers. And when President Trump says, you got to talk to the school, I think he's right. The school has 800 cameras, 800. They have facial recognition software. And a reporter yesterday during the press conference called them out on that and said, where's the video? Where on earth is the video? And the Rhode Island governor, Governor McKee, defended the school and said, Trump is wrong. Trump is wrong. Listen to this exchange yesterday.
President Donald Trump has said that Brown University is to blame for this shooting and saying it's the school's problem. Is that a fair criticism, or do you disagree with what the president
No, I don't
said?
think it's fair criticism.
Colonel, can you expand on that?
Why not? Because Brown University is not collaborating with you guys. You're lying to the press over here. They have facial recognition. We know that because they follow the students, they follow everybody in the neighborhood. Facial recognition. They need to release that data. So everybody know who the guy is in video. We got the video Saturday. Why you guys release the video today?
Governor, I think this is the question.
Then the governor walks away. I think I answered the question. Trump is wrong. He's orange. He's evil. Don't worry about the school not releasing any of the video that they have. Don't worry about the school's facial recognition system. Don't worry about the school's 800 cameras. I think I answered the question. Orange man bad, damn it. Orange man bad. The mayor of Rhode Island gets in there and tries to clean it up a little bit.
Colonel, I have just John, please, just for a second. A couple things. First of all, Brown University and Brown Public Safety, Brown Police Department has been a close collaborator throughout this process.
That's not true.
I do not accept that criticism.
Oh, come on. We know.
You hear the reporter? The reporter, what a based individual. He said, that's not true. Brown's been working really well with us and been a huge asset. No, sir. That's not true. That's not true.
Throughout this process.
That's not true.
I do not accept that criticism.
Oh, come on. We know that.
Secondly,
I love it. Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Secondly, he says,
everyone you see behind us, we've all been working for now 49 hours. We're tired.
Oh, are you tired? Is this a little bit too intense? Is this not the job you signed up for? Is this not the job you campaigned for? Is this not what you're getting paid exorbitant amounts of money to do? Oh, we're tired. What about the families, actually? How do you think the families feel? You think they've slept? What a tone-deaf statement. Everybody's tired. Oh. So we should give you a pass on not releasing the video footage. So we should give Brown University a pass on not releasing these videos sooner. They're tired. People are tired. Chris, they're tired. Okay. I just wonder how the families feel, and I wonder how they feel when they hear the mayor of Rhode Island, of Providence, saying that. I wonder how they feel when the chief of police gets up there and says, hey, guys, nothing to worry about anymore. Everything's fine. And they say, but you said the guy's still at large and he's armed and dangerous. He's like, yeah, that's a bit of an issue. This literally happened during the press conference yesterday.
Do you have reason to believe that this person is no longer in the community? Because can you continue to try to reassure the public that they are safe, but you also just said that something about this person you believe is armed and dangerous. So how can those be true?
Well, yeah, right. And that's something that's unknown, but like the mayor stated, I'll tell you that we have enhanced enforcement in that area. We have, Steph stated earlier, we have a lot of officers in the area, so in that sense, it's going to be safe. But however, as well, I just want to remind the community that our priority in law enforcement and in the city is to keep our constituents safe, keep them informed, and to keep them committed, to understand that we're a professional, we're dedicated, we're going to put somebody in handcuffs, and we're going to continue to do this job. So I want
to... very reassuring. Yes, it's completely safe. Completely safe. Yes, he's still at large. Yes, he's armed and dangerous. Nothing to worry about. But at the same time, what? Let's also be honest. This guy could be anywhere at this point. He could have gone up to New York and caught a flight to Europe. He could be down in Virginia. He could be halfway to Florida. I mean, the amount of time that has gone by since the shooting took place, there's no telling where this guy is. And the lack of information that we're getting from these individuals is a joke. It's a joke. There's been reports that he yelled something right before he opened fire in the classroom. He yelled something. Now, a couple of independent journalists are out there saying that they're interviewing people and that what was yelled was Allahu Akbar, which, if you're keeping score at home, points directly to radical Islam. The police chief was asked about this yesterday. The mayor got involved as well. They said there's a report that the shooter yelled something. Can you tell us what he yelled? Can you tell us? What do you think they say?
Now, there's a report the shooter yelled something right before his shot came in. Could you tell us what that was?
Yeah, it's part of the investigation, John. Yeah.
Now, the only reason I asked that, though, is, for instance, like with the Unabomber, his brother recognized the writing. So it's possible a friend or family member might recognize if the person said something that was significant.
Correct.
That's why you don't, other than the 9mm, is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's correct. And listen, like I said earlier, investigations will bring us to evidence that we need to collect in order to be able to prosecute. With that being said, we're going to continue to collect evidence, and if it leads us to something to that nature that's going to be extremely helpful for us to identify somebody, we'll be the first ones to put it out.
Would it be helpful to know that he yelled Allahu Akbar? You know, it's funny. If you're not watching on the video side of things on YouTube and Rumble, you might have missed this, but I'll break it down for you. When he's answering his question, I don't know, how many times did he look up and to the left? 3 times, 4 times? Up and to the left. He knows what was yelled. Everybody knows what was yelled. The mayor jumps in as well, the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island.
Follow up on John's question. Did the suspect yell, like has been reported, and there's been some erroneous reporting, but did he yell when he came in the classroom? And how valuable have witness statements been from those who survived?
Listen, my heart goes out to the victims. It goes out to the families, and I'll tell you that their cooperation has been extremely helpful. And that, with that being said, we'll continue, and I'm going to respect the fact that, and I hope that they get better, and my heart and soul goes out to them. So,
did he yell though? Did
so that's something that we're investigating. We took statements, and we have to confirm that.
So,
Mayor, a lot of cell phones. A few questions for somebody.
We're gonna wrap it up here.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did he yell something? Everybody knows that he yelled something. Clearly, the people in power know what was yelled, and they don't want to say it. And you have to start to ask yourself why. Why? Who are they protecting here? Then you get down some rabbit holes on the internet, and this happens. So that's the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island. There, he looks like a skinnier, taller Pete Buttigieg with glasses. Now, if you're watching on the stream, you see the mayor there. Okay. Now I'd like to put up on the screen. A picture of the mayor's husband. Yeah. This is a picture of the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island's husband. His main squeeze, if you will. I think that's technical. This is main squeeze. If you're not watching on the stream, you're not seeing the picture. Well, the picture, picture's worth 1,000 words. The husband of the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, is pictured here waving a Palestine flag, holding a sign that says, "A free Palestine will free us all." Now, I'm not saying that that's why they're not telling us what the shooter yelled. I'm just telling you that that's where the conversation is leading on the internet. On the internet, people are jumping to the conclusion that they're not telling us that the guy yelled Allahu Akbar because of this. Because of the extreme sympathy, the toxic empathy, the suicidal empathy that these liberals have for Palestine and Islam in general. I'm not saying that's why they're not releasing it, but it is what the internet's saying. Wild. Absolutely wild. The Brown University shooting is an entire mess. I think that part of the mess is the levels of woke across the board. The mayor, the police chief, Brown University. I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion. I'll let new information change my mind, but that's where I'm leaning right now. And we've seen a rash of Islamic violence over the past couple days. We're going to talk about Australia here in a minute. But did you hear what happened in Washington State? I'll tell you about it next. And I think you can make the case that this also was radical Islam terror. We'll talk about that next. It's 9:22. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All I want for Christmas is cheaper health insurance. So many Tennesseans say that, and I got a guy that can help you out. What's up? It's Chris Hand for my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. Maybe you're kicking yourself because you missed open enrollment. Maybe you're just paying too much for junk insurance. Whatever it is, Shane Ring over at Cover Nash can help you. If you miss open enrollment, you don't have to wait until next year. That's what the big companies want you to think. With Cover Nash, you can get covered right now with no waiting and no gimmicks. If you missed open enrollment, they got you covered. Lost your job coverage? Covered. Sick of overpriced junk insurance? You're in the right place. Cover Nash partners with 75 top-rated insurance companies, including brand new nationwide PPO plans with deductibles as low as $250, flat $50 doctor visits, free preventative care like colonoscopies, not that you're excited, physicals, the works, plans for individuals, families, self-employed folks, even small businesses. Stop overpaying, stop waiting, stop thinking you're stuck. Call Shane Ring and Cover Nash today, 615-465-0023. That's 615-465-0023, or find them online, covernash.com.
New surveillance video has been released in the Brown University shooting. Can it lead to apprehending a suspect? And a Tennessee Titan suffering a home burglary. We'll have those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Jay Harper in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. I don't know if the video that they released of the Brown University shooter is going to get him caught. I feel like there's got to be better video out there from the school.
I sure hope so.
But all we got is, 5'8", stocky. Basically what they've given us is it's George Costanza in a beanie and a mask. Is that it? Is that what we got? I guess.
Watch out, George.
Don't ask what he shouted. Please don't. We don't want to be Islamophobic or anything.
Well, he didn't say anything, right? Yeah.
Oh. Hey, on the other side of the country, Bellevue, Washington. Is this also a terror attack, or are we not allowed to ask that?
Breaking news out of Bellevue right now. A man is now charged with stabbing a police officer before another officer shot him. This happened at the Bellevue Transit Station, you'll recall, on Friday. Court documents say that Mohammed Bangura made a false 911 call about domestic violence to lure officers there. Police say that he slashed an officer's face with a knife and then stabbed him twice in the back. And that's when police say another officer shot Bangura. Both were taken to the hospital, and both are expected to recover.
Is that a terror attack? A fake 911 call saying that it's domestic violence, the weapon of choice being a knife, and the guy's name is Muhammad. Is that another underreported terror attack? Would they tell us if it was? Or would they just label this as crazy? You see, this is kind of the territory that we're falling into. It seems like the media is going to lie, or lie by omission, and try and not let you see what you're seeing. It's a crazy game out here. But that's Bellevue, Washington. Mohammed Bangura. Hello, 911. Yes, I'd like to report domestic violence. And when the cops show up, he stabbed him. Seems like a terror attack to me. 9:30, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It is 9:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have a weather forecast here momentarily. In the Brown University shooting, the search for the suspect that left 2 dead and 9 people injured is ongoing. Authorities have released some new video and images of the possible gunman. ABC's Whit Johnson is on the scene at Brown University.
A number of private schools and colleges in the area are now closed. Also, some after-school programs canceled due to the trauma of this tragedy. Meantime, back here at the crime scene, the FBI is rushing in more resources here, including additional lab personnel and evidence response teams.
Well, here we are 8 days away from Christmas Day, and topping many Christmas lists this year will be the latest versions of the smartwatch. 8 shopping days, that is. ABC's Jim Ryan says the next generation wearable might do more than just play music or count your steps.
Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have come up with a smartwatch-based system that signals parents to an oncoming emotional outburst in their kids. A study published in JAMA Open Network says a special device worn by children can detect physiological stress signals like rising heart rate or changes in movement or sleep, then send that data to a parent's phone in the form of a tantrum alert.
Back here in Nashville, a star NFL player, a victim of crime.
Titans defensive star Jeffrey Simmons came home from Sunday's game in California to find his home had been burglarized. Police say at least 6 suspects smashed a window to get inside. Simmons posted on social media calling the break-in planned and questioning what could have happened if family were home. Metro Police and Team Security are investigating. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at United Structural Systems. How do you get decades in the game and 30,000 satisfied customers? Well, you do it by knowing what you need to do and doing it well. The guys at USS have been doing it for decades. Whether it comes to foundation repair or waterproofing, these are the pros. Walk around your house today and ask yourself these questions. Are your floors sagging? Are there cracks showing up in the drywall? Do you have a door that just won't shut right? You see, these might seem like small little blemishes in the home, but it's actually a huge red flag. This is a warning sign that there could be something much more sinister going on right underneath your feet. See, a solid foundation is going to be the backbone of a strong home, and when it weakens, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to fix itself. This is why you need to call USS. Since 1994, they've been fixing problems just like these, and they're so confident in the work they do, the warranty that they're going to leave behind is transferable. Even if you leave the home, the warranty can stay. So when it comes to your house, don't kick the can down the road. Call the pros we trust, United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or find them online, USSTN.com. It's 9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Mason Fleming producing, Jay Harper in the newsroom. On the way, right around 11 o'clock, my friend Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, is going to be in the studio. We're going to have a little bit of Tifo Tuesdays. And we'll talk about a bunch of stuff, man. We'll talk about Islam and the West. It's a bit of a mess. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Not exactly compatible. I know that might upset some people, might make some people mad, but that's just the reality of what we're looking at. And I think that we're seeing that here in America. We've been seeing that here in America. We're seeing that all over Europe, seeing it in Australia. And what do our leaders do? They tell us, hashtag not all Muslims. Like, okay, I understand that. There are going to be good people of all walks of life, right? But on a grander scale, when you zoom out, Islam is not compatible with the West. It's just not. And we're looking to our leaders to tell us this, to speak up, to be bold and be unafraid. And the best we can get is, Chuck Schumer calling for more gun control, which he did yesterday in light of what happened at Brown University and Australia, who already has some of the strictest gun control laws in the entire West.
Against another poison of our age, that of rampant gun violence. Australia is no stranger to gun safety legislation. They famously took strong action in the 1990s and saw gun violence plummet. Yesterday, Australia's Prime Minister said the country will take another look at their gun safety laws and see where they can make improvements. If Australia can find courage to act after a tragedy like the one in Bondi Beach, Congress should certainly find the will to act after a tragedy like the one at Brown University.
Stunning and brave. Everybody clapped. I paused it too soon. He got a standing. Everybody clapped. Nailed it. Wow. If the gun control regulations that Australia put in place didn't work, surely we should have some new common sense gun laws here in America. You know what else Australia did just a couple weeks ago, just a few months ago that didn't work? It's funny. It's funny we should be talking about things that don't work. Just 3 months ago, little trip down memory lane, the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, had created a special envoy to combat Islamophobia.
We must stamp out the hate, fear and prejudice that drives Islamophobia and division in our society.
Australia's first Islamophobia envoy handing down his report. The report makes 54 recommendations, including boosting security at Islamic centres and schools and a review of the national curriculum, religious sensitivity training for federal police, an independent review of counter-terrorism laws and new religious discrimination protections.
Oh, stunning. Oh, geez. Sure wouldn't want anybody to blame Islam for what happened at the Hanukkah celebration. That would be Islamophobic. Couldn't have that, could we? We couldn't actually point at what caused the violence, could we? No. That would be Islamophobic. Side note, did you hear what happened outside the home of the Muslim attackers yesterday? Some guy DoorDashed them a ham. Oh. I mean, even the Islamophobia training hasn't worked.
That's a nasty one. That's nasty.
It did. It happened. It was awkward. It was a bit awkward. The poor DoorDash guy, he didn't know what he was getting into. He's the innocent victim in all of this.
He's like, don't shoot the messenger.
No, but you're getting this from Australian authorities. Please, hashtag not all Muslims. Not all Muslims. Let's talk to the daughter of a Bondi Beach victim who was shot. She went off on Australia's ABC live on the air, calling them out for everything.
How are we feeling? Is this what you wanted? Is this enough now? Will you listen to us? Albanese, Wong, will you listen to us? Will you actually do something? Will you actually... don't have to stand up and say anything because we don't believe you anyway. And ABC, I've got to say, will you cut out the biased reporting? Mainstream media, we feel will you cut it out? Will you actually let us have a voice? Because we feel that part of the reason that the Jewish people have experienced such a massive change in Australia towards us. I mean, I'm Aussie. I'm Aussie, you know. And I'm not a religious Jewish girl, but a woman. But since October the 7th, since all the hatred that's been thrown at us, I started to wear my Magen David because I'm Jewish. And if you have something to say, you can say it to me. And ABC, please stop with the biased reporting.
Will you finally do something? It's like they do the Peter Griffin. They hold up the color swatch and says, "Ooh, sorry, you may be Jewish, but you look too white." So no. So is this enough? Are you going to finally wake up? You've imported all these third worlders, and look at the fruit it's bearing. Are you going to wake up? Western world, are you going to wake up? 615-737-9986 if you want to join the show. Let's go to Brian on the road. What's up, Brian?
Hey, bro. I heard you say a minute ago the Islamic belief system or something. I don't know what word you used exactly. Said it's not compatible with the West. Well, it's not compatible with the teachings of Jesus. So let's be bolder and say that. Not like we have a corner on the Jesus market in America, but I heard a bunch last night. I know you don't like Lindsey Graham, but Hannity last night had him on, and he busted on Biden and Obama. And I know he even said, "I don't want a forever war," even though I think you believe that he does, and he might. I'm not going to say because I don't know, but he busted on them for letting our country be sold out, which they did. And he talked about the Iran nuclear deal, bunch of stuff. But here's the thing, I haven't heard what you just played with that lady, and she's exactly right. And you have to be bold like Trump and call them to their face. If he thinks somebody's stupid, he's not scared to say it. And everybody gets all tore up about stupid or retarded or, you know, and I know, Millie, you've raised her right. Somebody said earlier, I think Brian was talking about how your children are impressive. You know what somebody said about my children one time? They said, "Wow, you have nice children. What's the key?" And I said, there is no, I mean, be a parent. But right. I didn't start raising them when they were 14.
Yep. Amen.
So it's training. It's all that. And that is for the general public, you know, I mean. But
that kind of goes into like exactly what we're talking about, though, because, you know, to your point, like we got to train our kids. If you import a radical Muslim, how do you think they're going to train their children? And you've imported all of these people into the country, and then you're going to run into the situation like you saw in Australia where it's a father-son duo, you know, and then that could happen here in America. And then they'll get on the news and they'll tell us, no, that was an American citizen that opened fire. And it's like, yeah, you're lying by omission.
That's right. You know, there's sin that people don't talk about, sin of commission, but there's sin of omission.
Yep.
And when we stop doing good things, when good men, you know, don't do anything or whatever the saying is, good men do nothing, then that's why we got to have people like Trump. Look, bro, I'm 65. I have been, when I was born, Kennedy was in, you know, tragedy struck. Everybody thought the world's coming to an end that I can remember even. And my sisters and older brothers tell me what I used to say about United States is dead because I saw the casket go by with a flag on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't understand why people say what they say about Trump when I swear all he's done is for us. He's taken a bullet for us. He stands today. He's always working.
Yep.
He's always doing something, and they keep saying, we're going to sue you, we're going to impeach you. He doesn't care about that. You know why? Because he don't have to be reelected, and he's doing the right thing. Now, do I think he's perfect? No, I do not. And as soon as we put him on a perch, he'll fall off. But he is, by God, the best president by far. Reagan was good. He wasn't great to me, but Trump is great. So that's all I want to say. I don't think Islamic teachings are compatible with the West, and I obviously don't think they're compatible with, you know, maybe it's the Armageddon coming up. I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, I hope not. I appreciate the call, Brian. 615-737-9986. I think one of the issues is that, especially in Australia, they're refusing to confront the problem, staring them directly in the face, all of their leadership, from the New South Wales Premier to the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, or however you say his name. But they're not looking at what actually caused it, Mohammedanism. They're blaming the guns, and it's like, are we doing this again? You guys already banned guns.
Our approach to this terrible crime in New South Wales is multifaceted, but I want to make it clear that our efforts to firstly work with the New South Wales Police on counter-terrorism efforts continue. Secondly, fighting anti-Semitism in our community, which will not be done in a week or a month, but is a long-term important project for the Government of New South Wales, working with civic leaders and the people of this state. Thirdly, gun law reform in New South Wales, with legislation brought into the New South Wales Parliament to make gun laws tougher in this state. I'm determined to bring in the toughest gun laws in Australia, and they'll be significantly tightened in New South Wales.
Stunning and brave. Everybody clapped. You already have oppressive gun laws. And when we watched the terror attack unfold for nearly 20 minutes, we saw your female police officers hiding behind cars. We saw citizens have to resort to tackling the gunmen because your police would do nothing, and you want to disarm them even further. What? You're jumping the shark. You missed the plot. You've lost the narrative. And what does American press do? Does American press call it out? No. Actually, on MSNBC, MS Now, they gleefully gloat and say, golly, those stunning and brave Australians. Wish we could do that here.
Why not? Why aren't we going to fix it? They're trying to do something about it in Australia again. On the issue of guns, it only took hours after two gunmen opened fire on and killed Jews celebrating Hanukkah at the beach for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to promise reforms.
It only took him 2 hours. Golly, guys. We're so backwards here in America.
We are stronger than the cowards who did this. And I want to conclude finally by saying that the government is prepared to take whatever action is necessary. Included in that is the need for tougher gun laws.
Politicians there quickly realizing that the strict gun laws the country enacted after a mass murder back in 1996 needed updating. So why aren't we addressing anything here? Why not here?
Why not here, guys? We see how stunning and brave these gosh darn Australians are. They're not dealing with Islamophobia. They're dealing with the root of the problem, the gun. Now, never mind the fact that if there were no guns, it would have been a stabbing attack. Come on, details. Never mind the fact that if there were no guns, could have been a truck through a Christmas. Details. Why can't we do that here? I think the Western world needs to wake up, and there needs to be a bit of a reckoning. This is incompatible with our way of life. It just is. It's incompatible with Judaism. It's incompatible with Christianity. It's incompatible with the Constitution. No matter how you slice it, it is not going to work out. And we know what their game plan is because they have no issue telling us. The game plan is, we'll outbreed you, and when we outnumber you, we'll conquer you. I'm not making that up. That's in the book. It's in the book. Why can't we just disarm our citizens here? Then we'd have no problems. Then it'd be a utopia. Okay. Last night on Jesse Waters, there was a guy by the name of God Sad on, and he had a dire warning to Americans. It's time to wake up. It's time to understand what's in that book and what these radical Mohammedists actually believe. I'll play you that clip when we get back. It's 9:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. $9.52, Super Talk 99.7. Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store. I got a pro tip for you guys. It's a pro tip. Okay, you ready for this? You want a new firearm for Christmas. The wife said, you have enough firearms. Okay, here's what you do. You go down to the Glock store, and you take advantage of the big Christmas sale that's going on. Okay, it's going on in the store and online at GlockStore.com. Get the firearm you want. Wrap it up. Put it under the tree for Christmas morning. write that it's from Santa. She's not going to be able to call you out in front of the kids. This is a get out of jail free card. I'm telling you, it's going to work. Now, maybe you really don't need enough guns, but you got a friend in your life that does need a gun. If you got a pro Second Amendment guy or gal on your Christmas list, let's be honest, the only place to shop is at the Glock store or online at glockstore.com. That's the easiest way to shop. You jump on glockstore.com, you check out the deals on optics, barrels, compensators, magazines, extensions, extended controls, slide cuts, and even factory rebuilt Glocks. And come on, if you can't tell the difference, why pay the difference? Load up your cart, check out, and choose pickup in store. They'll call you when it's ready. You swing by, you grab your gear, you're done. No wandering, no guessing, no waiting. It's the best deals of the year, the best gear in the country without the hassle. That's the Glock Store Christmas sale happening right now at glockstore.com.
A lawsuit now over the construction of the White House ballroom. Also, where does the peace deal in Ukraine stand? We'll have the latest on that. That's all coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Jay Harper in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. We've been talking about the West's response to what we've seen, the violence that we've seen across the globe over the past few days with the shooting at Bondi Beach in Australia. And what many believe was a terror attack at Brown University. What did the shooter shout? Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody, it's details. Don't worry about the details. Many independent journalists are saying that he shouted Allahu Akbar. So we're kind of talking about Islam. We're talking about the West, how they don't mix oil and water. Last night on Jesse Waters, Gad Saad was on, and he had quite a bit to say about Islam in the West. Says, guys, it's time to wake up.
It's unbelievable. As you know, Jesse, I've been warning about this for several decades. Let's draw an analogy. Suppose you get married and there's diversity of thought in terms about being monogamous. You want to have sex with as many women as possible, whereas your wife thinks that it's a good idea to be only true to one person. That type of diversity within that union is probably not going to lead to good outcomes. Islam may contain many adherents that are perfectly lovely, but does Islam contain tenets that are perfectly incongruent with Western liberties? Nothing could be clearer. We don't need this kind of diversity.
Facts.
It's very hard to screen those types of Muslims out. I mean, you can't just screen away people like that. I mean, they can radicalize, they can self-radicalize, they can hide from Customs and Border Patrol agents their true intentions. I mean, what is the solution?
I don't like the term they can get radicalized. It's as though that's outside the religion, right? There is no Islamism. There is no radical, violent, extremist militantism, right? You don't just add a bunch of isms and a bunch of qualifiers so that you can hallucinate about it being different from Islam. Islam is a codified set of ideas. If I choose to ignore much of it, I will be peaceful. If I choose to take it seriously, I won't be peaceful. So it's not radicalization. It's simply whether I adhere to the tenets of the faith or I don't. And so to your point, you could never vet someone because these are people who the father had been there since the 90s. The son was born there. So certainly from any vetting perspective, you would think they're well acclimatized to Western liberties. And it just takes one trigger and off we go.
Islam is a codified set of ideas. If I choose to ignore it, I am peaceful. If I take it seriously, I won't be peaceful. He says, I don't like the term they can get radicalized. He talks about the father and the son. You should have been acclimated. How many father-son duos do we have like that in America waiting for their opportunity to do the exact same thing? How many's too many? It's 10:01. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It is 1 minute past 10 a.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have a weather forecast here in just a bit. A lawsuit seeking to stop construction of the new White House ballroom has its first key test at a hearing in a federal courtroom in D.C. later today. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
The lawsuit has the National Trust for Historic Preservation urging a judge to halt construction, arguing the White House should first submit its plans to key commissions and get congressional approval. In a court filing, the administration says the plans for the ballroom are not final and will eventually involve input from the Fine Arts and Planning Commissions. But ultimately, the White House argues the president does not need anyone's approval to demolish the historic East Wing or to build a ballroom in its place.
A peace proposal that could stop the fighting in Ukraine hasn't been signed off on by the Russians, but U.S. officials claim they're closer than they've ever been in securing an agreement. Earlier this week, U.S. and Ukrainian officials met with European leaders in Germany. We hear now from ABC's Ian Pannell.
The U.S. offering potential security guarantees to Ukraine. No U.S. boots on the ground, but any guarantee like this would have to be signed off by Congress. But Ukraine making it clear, still disagreements over territory, and here in Moscow, questions of whether the Kremlin will agree to any new form of deal.
Now we move back here in Middle Tennessee, where a person of interest has been detained after 2 people were shot in Clarksville last night. The Clarksville Police Department said they were called to the parking lot of Chipotle on Fort Campbell Boulevard just before 10:20 last night. They found 2 people there with gunshot wounds. The extent of the victims' injuries is not known. However, 1 victim was flown to a Nashville hospital. This is a developing story. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can listen to it anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. I actually got a text from, what was his name? I want to make sure I get his name right. It was Scott. Scott's 8 hours into a 12-hour trip, or 4 hours, 4 hours into a 12-hour trip. He's 8 to go, and he's in the middle of Iowa listening to us on iHeartRadio. Shout out to Scott.
Thanks for texting and driving.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in the driver's seat. I was going to say, I'm sure he's in the passenger. No, he sent pictures. He was driving.
People be texting.
They don't think it'd be like it is, but it do. That's just the facts of the situation. You can also watch us. We're on Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. The big ones, YouTube and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe. You get video for all the audio that you hear. And we got another story coming up here, and just after we get through some calls about just a horrific attack in Georgia. And I have a picture that you're going to want to see. You can't unsee it once you see it, but you're going to want to see that over on YouTube and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. 615-737-9986. Taking more of your telephone calls. Let's go to Mike in Nashville. Mike, thanks for holding, man. How are you?
Yeah. How you doing, Chris? Hey, let me ask you something. One quick question before I get to what I want to say, Chris. Hey, because you one of the, like I said, I told you this before. You one of the best guys I've heard on the radio. And you I like the way you speak your mind. Have you ever thought about getting involved in politics in like Congress in Tennessee or something like that? Because they need people like you, that are outspoken and you know the issues and stuff. I think you'd be good for Tennessee if you ever decided to. Well, get in that in the future. Maybe you think about that.
I appreciate that, and I've thought about it a little bit, but I feel like I say too much outlandish things. I'd get myself in trouble. But I have been trying to gently nudge my wife in that direction because she's also based in Red Pill, but she's a little bit more soft-spoken than I am.
Yeah. Like I said, you do a good job, But let me ask you something, Chris. Okay, now they talked about the terrorist attack that was planned in Los Angeles, California.
Yes, sir.
Now I could have sworn when they held the news conference yesterday that didn't sound like no Islamic names. That sounded like American names, and when they showed the photographs of these four individuals, these look like American people. And this is even more dangerous here when you got homegrown terrorists. Maybe you can check on that after I hang up. I don't know if these people were Islamic or not, but those four individuals that was planning the attack on New Year's Eve in Los Angeles look like American citizens.
No,
and those people are going to be even harder. It's going to be even harder to weed those people out because, they look just like me and you. So I'd like for you to check on that and find out who the hell these people were.
You're absolutely right. They were far leftists, and they were radical leftists, and they're part of the Free Palestine crowd. They're those kinds of people. You're absolutely right. But they are American citizens.
But they're not Islamic. They're Americans. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. We've had those type of people in the past do terrorist attacks in America. So it's going to be even harder to weed those people out because, like I said, they look just like me and you. Yep. And I thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, but and I appreciate the call. But we find ourselves at a weird intersection between wokeism and Marxism and Islam, where we have these ideologies that have teamed up, and it is the greatest threat that we have to our society. Charlie Kirk talked about this before he passed.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life.
Now, I think it's important to point out that, yes, those individuals in the New Year's Eve plot, they don't look like radical Islamists, but they are radical leftists. And the cross-section that we find ourselves in, we're on a collision course with both.
And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization.
Amen.
And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us, and it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. It's time for all good men in this country to stand and rise up against it and use your voices and make this loud. We have to get loud. But this is the cross-section we find ourselves at. The radical woke leftists and the radical Islamists, they're on the same team. And they're all coming for us. And what do we get from our leadership? we get calls for gun control. What do we get from our media? We get calls for gun control. No. How about no? 615-737-9986. Let's go to Ed in Lebanon. What's up, Ed? How are you?
Good morning, Chris.
How's it going,
I'm
man?
going to make 2 points. First point is every communist country in the world took its guns from its citizens so it could control them. That's the first thing. The second thing is the reason that America should never give up its guns is because it makes us the strongest army in the world. That is why nobody invades America.
There's a rifle. There's a rifle behind every blade of grass.
And the people that don't believe in guns, when the invasion is to happen, they'll be the first people running out to get them.
Yep, you're absolutely right, man. And I appreciate the call. 615-737-9986. Gary in Portland. What's up, Gary?
Hey, man, I love your show.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Love you back. What you got?
I was wanting to talk about the direction that the United States has been going in the last 4, really 8, maybe even more, compared to where we need to go now in order to turn this country around and make it the bright, shining light that it has been in the past. There's a lot of things that are politicized now, and the wokeism is ruining this country, ruining it. And hopefully, with the proper leader in charge, things are going to turn around.
How do we fix it, Gary? What would you do if you were the proper leader?
And I don't have any idea what needs to be done, but we need to go back to like the 60s, 70s. How things were back then. Gentleman before me, he talked about wanting things for his kids. Well, every American in this country wants those things for his kids. They want to be able to ride a bike down the road and not have to be worried about getting hit by a drunk, illegal alien, which has happened before. You know that as well as I do. And the things that we need to put in place are the things that we should be supporting our president with. If he's got the right people under him, he can get things done. And I'm hoping that maybe now or in the future we will have that. That's what I think is going to take to turn things around.
Well, I'll be praying for that, and I hope you do as well, Gary. I appreciate the call, 615-737-9986. Let's go to our friend Dave on the road. Wants to talk about the shooting in Australia. What's up, Dave?
Hey, nothing. I'm just driving. Anyway, I watched Carl Higbee last night, and he showed that shooter who was cycling that bolt-action rifle in like 1 second. 1 second. Carl said he couldn't even do that. A trained Navy SEAL, and it's just unreal how fast that guy was operating that rifle without, he had to be professionally trained. And as far as the guy who took the gun away, that guy didn't shoot that guy because he's probably scared he'd get thrown in jail.
Yeah, you're not lying. That wouldn't shock me at all. And, the guy that took the gun away was an absolute hero. He ended up being shot himself. And I think that he's raised over $1 million on the GoFundMe now, which is unbelievable. Bill Ackman donated $100,000. Unbelievable. A lot of issues, though, in Australia. Those issues we've seen here. We've seen them here. And even when they don't expressly tell you what's happening, I think that we've all come to a point where we can kind of recognize the signs, right? So there's a story out of Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. And if you could, Mason, if you could throw this picture up on the screen, this poor woman was walking, just walking at a park, and she suffered severe burns in a random toxic chemical attack. She had acid thrown on her face. A Georgia woman suffered burns to her face and body after being doused with a toxic chemical in a random attack while she was strolling through the park. And her sadistic assailant is still on the loose, the New York Post reports. Ashley Wysalewski, 46, was walking laps around Forsyth Park in Savannah Wednesday night after attending a Christmas program at a nearby church when a stranger approached her from behind and poured corrosive liquid over her head. According to her devastated friends and family, she let out a blood-curdling scream as the chemicals burned her skin, ate through her clothing, melted her car's key fob in her pocket. She was instantly like, "Why are you pouring water on me?" Then her skin started to burn. And her close friend, Connor Millam, who described her as a giving person who often volunteered in her community and provided essential items to the homeless. This is a sweet lady, a beautiful lady who is never going to be the same. And as I'm reading these articles about this, the one thing that seems to be missing is where these attacks are prevalent, who are these prevalent attackers that do acid attacks. And it's like, guys, is this a radical Islamist dumping acid on a woman? Is that what we're seeing here? Because we see that all over the UK. You know, it's funny. I was doing research, and sometimes you have to like poke and prod an AI server to tell you the truth. And I said, this is, tell me about this. What do we know about this? And I'm going down the rabbit hole. I said, okay, well, who perpetrates these attacks? And the AI said, well, we don't have any idea. We don't have any idea. So, okay, well, where in the world are these attacks the most prevalent? Oh, it says right here. It says the UK and Pakistan and, oh, that's odd. But the UK it only started happening in the UK more recently, just a couple decades ago. And I thought to myself, if only something had happened in the UK a few decades ago that would have made these attacks more prevalent. Could be anything. Could be, who knows? No arrests have been made in this case. And local police is working with the FBI to identify the chemical used in the savage attack and hunt down the vicious assailant. Extra patrols have been stationed at city parks. Authorities are searching for a person of interest who was last seen in surveillance footage sporting blue jeans, a dark hooded sweatshirt with a white cartoon rabbit. He was wearing a Bugs Bunny sweatshirt. Our police department is treating this case with the highest urgency, Savannah Mayor Johnson said in a Facebook post on Thursday. While this attack is deeply troubling, there's currently no information indicating a broader or ongoing threat to the public. Am I wrong for thinking that this was another example of radical Islam on full display? Am I wrong for not believing that the mayor is really concerned about this? You know, it's funny. The mayor, who's said this attack is deeply troubling, there's currently no information indicating a broader or ongoing threat to the public. He was posted on Facebook. This is the mayor of Savannah, Georgia, Mayor Van Johnson. He said, somebody said on Facebook, have you actually been to the park? Have you contacted the victim and promised on behalf of Savannah to support her ongoing recovery? Great photo shoot and tender-hearted words, but what is Savannah actually doing? And the mayor of Savannah wrote, maybe you should take a nap. No, this individual doesn't care. Mayor Van Horn doesn't care. The Democrats in charge of these major cities don't care. They're just going to turn the blind eye. They're not going to ask hard questions. And we're left standing here going, what the hell has happened to our country? 1021, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Zero Res Nashville. What do we got? 9 shopping days left till Christmas. But if you got family coming over, you got 8 days to clean your house, right? They coming over for Christmas Eve. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm only telling you this because I love you. I mean this truly. Your carpets are nasty. They're gross. They smell a little funky. Nobody knows what that stain is. Nobody wants to ask what that stain is. Let's be perfectly honest. Well, my friends at Zero Res, they have 100% success rate of getting what the heck is that? out of your carpets. They've done it for me many, many times. We got 4 kids, 2 dogs. You understand what my carpets go through. This is why I trust Zero Res, the Maha of carpet cleaning. Their exclusive ZR water, no soap, no harsh chemicals, no residue. Carpets that look clean and stay clean longer. And just in time for your holiday clean, you can get 2 rooms plus a hallway or stairs for just $129. You want to up it to 3 rooms, just $20 more. 3 rooms plus a hallway or stairs, $149. You're not going to find a better deal in carpet cleaning. It's going to last all the way into 2026 because Zero Res knows what they're doing. So don't waste any time. Call Zero Res today. These guys are 100% going to take care of you and leave you satisfied. 615-535-9376, 615-535-9376, or you can always book online. Get on the schedule today, ZeroResNashville.com.
In light of the events in Australia, increased security at Hanukkah events all around the country. We'll have that story. Also, a lawsuit is now seeking to stop construction of the new White House ballroom. We'll have that and more coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$10:26, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Sorry, I got distracted in the hallway.
Yeah, I was like, took your sweet time to get back in here.
Well, I bumped into Ken Weaver, and we started talking about eggnog. I said, you like eggnog, right? He's like, oh, brother. It's like, I drink it year round. It's like, all right, good. And then I told him about, do you know Bluebell? Bluebell's the best ice cream out there. Everybody understands that, right?
Oh, I miss it so.
So, oh yeah, you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
Well, you'll like this story then, because it punishes those of us who aren't. So we got the eggnog ice cream. Bro. I'm embarrassed to say this.
Oh.
This is the last Christmas, just full disclosure. I ate so much eggnog ice cream that I threw up.
No.
I did. I was very embarrassed. I had very low self-control. And then I was like, oh, no. Oh, you remember that commercial that we used to run where you hear like the belly sound and they go, oh, no. Yeah, that was me. That was me. Oh, no. The kids are crying. They're like, did dad ruin Christmas? I said, yes, I did.
For himself, for sure. It's still out if it's on for everybody else.
It was very embarrassing.
Yeah, too much of a good thing. And
I would do it again.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
10 out of 10 would do it again. All right. Eggnog ice cream is underrated. Also underrated, using eggnog as your milk in pancakes or French toast and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
You got to do it. Oh, it's so good.
See, I'm not a huge eggnog fan. That's where I...
What are you, not from America?
My parents were raised on the West Coast. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe. Let's talk about, speaking of the West Coast, let's talk about, you like this radio segue gold. Let's talk about the plot on New Year's Eve.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. Sometimes I feel bad about this because maybe I'm just being a bit too judgy. But they released some pictures of the suspects, okay? Pretty sure 2 of the ladies that were arrested are dudes. Is that just me? You see them on screen? Audrey Carroll is one of the is one of the terrorists, female. Then you got Ash Kerrigan, whose real name is Zachary Page, 100% a dude. Then you got Tina Chen Ting. Does that look like an Adam's apple to you?
Very strong neck.
Looks like a dude.
Strong jawline.
Looks like a Chinese dude. Then you got Dante Anthony Gadfield, a.k.a. Nomad. They all had nicknames. You notice they all had nicknames? The one that's definitely a dude that's portrayed as a female, Zachary Page, a.k.a. Ash Kerrigan, a.k.a. Cthulhu's daughter. The heck is Cthulhu? Do you know what Cthulhu is?
Cthulhu is the big squid guy in the old books and whatnot.
Fictional cosmic entity created by H.P. Lovecraft in 1928, first appearing in The Call of Cthulhu.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you were going for?
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu. It's been made into a game. It's used in RPG games. It's big in the fantasy lore area.
Cthulhu is an ancient godlike being from beyond Earth, described as a massive creature, dragon-like wings, head covered in tentacles.
Yeah, think of an octopus on a human body with giant dragon wings.
Cthulhu represents chaos, indifference to human life, the collapse of moral order.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty well in line with what these lunatics believed and were doing. What are we learning about that plot? We'll talk about it when we get back. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 10:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Stand by for a weather forecast. New York City's police department, they're increasing security around their Hanukkah events following that deadly massacre in Australia. That includes festivities at Grand Army Plaza, where the world's largest menorah shines its light above Fifth Avenue.
Crowds gathered beneath the world's largest menorah to celebrate the second night of Hanukkah. And as they did, New York City police officers kept watch. A discreet but robust presence intended as a precaution. But for many Jewish New Yorkers, it's a necessity because the fear is real.
That's ABC's N.J. Burkett reporting. A lawsuit seeking to stop construction of the new White House ballroom has its first key test at a hearing in a federal courtroom in D.C. today. ABC's Stephen Portnoy reports.
The National Trust for Historic Preservation argues that no president should be able to tear down parts of the White House or build additions without expert review, public comment, and approval from Congress. In its filings, the administration insists the president has the legal authority to construct the ballroom, and with the plan still not final, The White House says it will seek the input of planners before above-ground construction starts in April. The court papers also have the Secret Service warning of potential harm to national security if the project is halted.
We now move out to Los Angeles, where Nick Reiner is being held in a downtown jail. He's awaiting charges as he's suspected of murdering his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. ABC's Trevor Alt, he's in L.A.
Sources say Saturday, Rob Reiner and his son Nick got into an argument at Conan O'Brien's holiday party. Nick was seen there acting strangely. Sunday, law enforcement sources say the couple's daughter found them with fatal stab wounds. Reiner's friends, comedian Billy Crystal and Larry David, came to the house soon after, police closing down the neighborhood to investigate.
That is the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. And if you want to kick off 2026 pain-free, you got to do it with the Wellness Institute. No matter what you're dealing with, back pain, neck pain, sciatica, herniated or bulging discs, knee pain, numbness in your arms or legs, you need to know that the Wellness Institute of Nashville can help you out. Dr. Mitchell and his team are the first and the only office in Tennessee with a brand new device called the HydroWave. Y'all ears, you listening? This is a brand new machine that stimulates stem cells for real cellular healing. No surgery, no needles, no injections. When you pair that with non-surgical spinal decompression and knee decompression, this is about as advanced as it gets. They use anti-gravity machines, robot lasers, and they actually take the time to review your MRI and explain what's happening and how to fix it. Start a pain-free life. It is 100% possible. You could have a pain-free year in 2026. Give them a call today, 615-246-5009. That's 615-246-5009. Say, I got to try the new HydroWave machine, or book online, painisbad.com. All right, so anyway, Canada.
In the unlikely event that you find yourself the victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands. But don't engage unless absolutely necessary.
Is that so? Don't take matters into your own hands? Bro, they're in my living room.
We urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive, and be the best witness possible.
Oh, be the best witness possible as your wife is being beaten by home invaders. You're being tied up. Just call Lee, chip in, and be a great witness. You know, Superman, and then, you know, you got Bizarro. In Florida, they're like, we're going to shoot you stone cold dead. This is Bizarro, Florida. Is that what Ontario is?
It's close enough.
It's 10:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? Chris Hand here. You can find me on all the social media platforms that matter at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. You can watch the show on YouTube and Rumble right now. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. You get video elements and visual elements for all the audio that you hear and all the things we're talking about. It's worth a watch. And if you want to watch it later, you can always skip the commercials. That's an added bonus. We also are on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and the FM dial. Shout out to everybody on their Christmas road trips listening to us on the app. So we appreciate you guys. Again, all the digital platforms have a share button. Hit the share button. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. It's going to make our 2026 even bigger than our 2025. And it's been a wild year for Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We thank you guys for being a part of it. We truly, truly do. If you want to join the show, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Was the New Year's Eve terror plot that was just foiled by the FBI another example of this epidemic of trans violence that we've seen throughout the country in 2025? I think that you can make the argument that it is. It is. Especially when you look at the pictures of these individuals. What a bunch of goons. You got four. And listen, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're watching along on Super Talk TV and you can see the pictures of these individuals, you tell me if I'm off. First individual, Audrey Carroll, a.k.a. They all have the dumbest nicknames. I don't understand it. Will you find out what this one means for me, Mason? Audrey Carroll, a.k.a. Asiganak. Asiganak? Asiginaak. I'm assuming it's some sort of weird demon with maybe two sets of genitals. Asiganak. Her other nickname is Black Moon. Did you find what a Asiganak is? Mason has a look of accomplishment on his face. What is it?
It's more of a look of a confusion.
Oh, perfect.
The Asiganak primarily refers to the blackbird, specifically the red-winged blackbird in a language from Africa. It is also has modern applications as a name or alias.
So Audrey Carroll, a.k.a. Asiganak. Do you think people call her that in conversation? What up, Asiganak? Probably not.
Maybe as.
Then you got Zachary Page, who is definitely a dude dressed up as a lady, a.k.a. Ash Kerrigan, a.k.a. Cthulhu's daughter. We talked about Cthulhu. That's weird. Then you got Tina Chen Ting Lai, a.k.a. Kickware. Kickware. That's the other one that I think is a dude.
Just don't say that in an accent. Don't. You wouldn't do it.
I would never do something like that.
Never.
Kick where? I mean, judging by the fact you look like a dude, I know exactly where to kick. Then you got Dante Anthony Gaffield, a.k.a. Nomad, a.k.a. Cedar. From the New York Post, this group of far-left extremists allegedly planned to kill ICE agents after carrying out their New Year's Eve terror plot against American businesses. Four bizarrely named members of a group known as the Order of the Black Lotus, a splinter group of the anti-capitalist Turtle Island Liberation Front, TILF, if you will. TILF. Planned to plant pipe bombs at two U.S. companies in Los Angeles, according to federal prosecutors. Afterward, the group planned to attack federal immigration agents and their vehicles with pipe bombs beginning in January or February 2026 in hopes that the blast would take some of them out and scare the rest of them, according to the criminal complaint. Now, in the evidence that was presented, they also have all of the items that they found on these individuals when they arrested them. They have all sorts of signs. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, the Turtle Island Liberation Front, death to ICE, death to America, long live Turtle Island and Palestine. They have pictures of the evidence, the bomb-making materials, and more on full display on this New York Post article. The New Year's Eve plot, dubbed Operation Midnight Sun, consisted of planting backpacks stuffed with bombs at two companies, according to a handwritten plan discovered by investigators. 4 suspects arrested. Search warrants also found signs declaring death to America, death to ICE, long live Turtle Island and Palestine, officials announced on Monday. And you'll see pictures of the individuals. The one who's presenting as a female, he's definitely got some crazy eyes. I think they all got crazy eyes. But the suspects were busted in Lucerne Valley in the Mojave Desert, where they were caught on video trying to detonate improvised explosive devices. Los Angeles First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Esseley told reporters at a news conference they were each charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device. A fifth unidentified suspect was arrested in New Orleans while planning a separate attack. We find ourselves at the crossroads of radical Islam and radical leftists. And no matter which way you turn, it's not good, man. It's not good. There's a lot of violence out there. And it's these just insane people that want to perpetrate it. By the grace of God, the FBI foiled this plot, just like by the grace of God, they foiled the one on Halloween in Dearborn, Michigan. But it's just insane, man. It never ends. This continues to go on. Now, today, the media is much more concerned about talking about Donald Trump's comments on Rob Reiner as opposed to the New Year's Eve terror plot that was foiled by the FBI, that was plotted and planned by radical leftists. They don't want to talk about that. No, I imagine they're not going to spend much time on that terror plot at all. How could you when you have Donald Trump and Rob Reiner to talk about? And we'll talk about it a little bit. President Trump was asked about his True Social post yesterday, and he doubled down, as President Trump is known to do. He didn't shy away from it. He just said, "No, I don't like Rob Reiner. I think he's an awful person," and it's his right to say it. I wouldn't have said it this way, but the president, he has every right to say it.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on True Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country, yeah.
He has every right to think that. And politically speaking, you can make the case that Rob Reiner was terrible for the country. Also, from a human decency perspective, you can wait to say that or not say anything at all. I mean, that's also an option. But the president was asked about it, so he told him. He told him what he felt. And politically speaking, yes, the guy who helped push gay marriage across the finish line, not exactly I don't know. I don't know what you want to say about that, but that's what it is. That's who he was. It's not great. Not a great guy. Rest in peace. Terrible way to go. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But the president has a right to say what he's feeling. Jasmine Crockett's very upset. She called out Trump, called him just all the names in the book. Terrible person. How could he say this? And it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this the other way then, okay? Because you want me to feel some type of way because the president doesn't like Rob Reiner. Jasmine Crockett's very upset. It's not presidential. And it's like, oh, hey, aren't you the person who refused to condemn Charlie Kirk's assassination? Oh, yeah, that's right.
The rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was specifically to us. And I can tell you that a month prior to him passing away, he had actually gotten out on his podcast. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he got out there and he was talking negatively about me directly. So if there was any way that I was going to honor somebody who decided that they were just going to negatively talk about me and proclaim that I was somehow involved in the great white replacement, yeah, I'm not honoring that kind of stuff.
I'm not honoring that kind of stuff. Somebody that's going to talk negatively about me, okay, so let's use the Jasmine Crockett logic. By Jasmine's logic, Trump was totally justified to roast Rob Reiner. I'm just using her logic right now. And there's a list of things that you can look at. 2017, in an interview with Variety, Reiner said Donald Trump is mentally unfit to be president. He's the most single unqualified human being to ever assume the presidency of the United States. Not only does he not understand how government works, he has no interest in trying to find out how it works. Okay, but that was a long time ago, Chris. So things are different. That was 27. Okay, October 2025, appearance on MSNBC. Reiner stated, "We have a year before this country becomes a full autocracy completely and democracy completely leaves us." My democracy. February 2024, interview with The Guardian. Reiner warned, "The question at this election is, do we want to continue 249 years of self-rule of American democracy, or do we want it to turn it over to somebody like Donald Trump, who has said he wants to destroy the Constitution and go after his political enemies and turn America into an autocracy?" In various public comments, including interviews with Salon, Reiner referred to Trump as a con man and a criminal. Reiner repeatedly accused Trump of lying constantly, noted in a 2023 interview with Ari Melber and other statements. I mean, so if we're using Jasmine Crockett's logic, then the president was completely justified in roasting Rob Reiner. This is the thing that leftists don't understand. It's like everything is on the internet. Like we've seen what makes you cheer, so your boos mean nothing. Like, yes, we can all agree that it probably wasn't the best. Probably wasn't the best social media post. But I'm not gonna sit here and go full Dem. Be like, how could you? What in the world? And forget all the things that these people have said, not just about the president, but about you and I and all of us. We're the worst people in the world. The ICE is the Gestapo. They're Nazis. They're terrible people. We're a basket of deplorables. We're trash. And, let's go on and on and on. I'm not feeling any type of way. So the president didn't like Rob Reiner. Okay. And? We're going to bring up mean things he said about John McCain, too? And. Well, the and currently is that Donald Trump is still working to make this country great again. The and currently is while Jasmine Crockett and the mainstream media and the Democrat elites are worried about what he said about Rob Reiner, we have major issues in this country when it comes to radical Islam and radical woke leftists. And we're seeing that on full display every single day. That's the major issue facing this country right now. Not a mean social media post from Donald Trump about Rob Reiner. However, if you watched mainstream media, you wouldn't even know. So I don't think CNN has even brought it up. What happened in Los Angeles, that bust? I haven't seen them cover the acid attack in Georgia at all. They've talked a little bit about the Brown University shooting, but they haven't called out the administration, the police, the Rhode Island government for their failures. No, of course not. It's just business as usual. Orange man bad. And such. 1051 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
A $6.6 billion investment that's going to mean more jobs in Middle Tennessee. We'll tell you about it at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. That news on the way is massive for Tennessee. And we're getting a lot of good economic news from the administration today. Huge fan. 64,000 new jobs. Wages are up. I don't know. Is that good? I feel like that's good. They seem to be pretty excited about it over on CNBC. We've got a fancy new logo. Did you see that? Fancy new logo.
Yes, October and November for the big jobs report. The only thing is it's not Friday. Here we go. November's number comes in at 64,000. 64,000 on non-farm. And if we look at average hourly earnings, they are up 0.1% year over year, up 3.5.
64,000 jobs added. Could be more. Wages are up. That's great. Scott Bessent was also out there touting the success of the economy. He was on with Maria Bartiromo this morning on Fox Business. And Scott said, guys, there's a recent study out, Wharton School. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you've heard of it. Wharton School said that even though we had the longest government shutdown in history, we're still going to be finishing the year with 3.5% GDP. And on top of that, we are seeing the president enforcing the border, sending home 2 million illegals, and that's going to bring some economic success and lower prices as well.
How do you explain this new stress that we're talking about that keeps showing up in all the polls, that people are stressed about housing, stressed about the cost of food? What is the administration's plan to rein in the cost of food and housing?
Well, Maria, people should be stressed because this Biden inflation, as I said, it was worst inflation in 50 years, and Strategas, the brokerage firm who you know well, had something. Jason Trenner had something called the Common Man Index, which was working Americans. So the accumulated CPI during the Biden years, called it 22%. For working Americans, it was 35, and that 35 was just a wipeout because it was groceries, insurance, rent, and the auto. And we are bringing that down. So energy, which leads everything, is coming down. Energy goes into grocery prices. So affordability has two components. So just like with the deficit, with the deficit, there are two parts to it. There's constraining spending, and then upping revenues, which is what we're doing, which is why we had this several $100 billion contraction. With affordability, I suspect that we are going to see a substantial drop in inflation in the first 6 months of next year. Rents are down. The story that the Biden administration doesn't want to talk about, the mass unfettered immigration, they have pushed up rents. Especially for working Americans. There's a recent study out from Wharton School that shows every 1% increase in population, rents went up 1%. Wow. So President Trump, by enforcing the border, sending home more than 2 million illegals, we're now seeing D and C rents coming down substantially. I think that will continue for the rest of the year. We brought interest rates down. So we've seen mortgage rates down, and I think everything else will follow that.
And we're also seeing a lot of homes that are now available in places like Texas. There's a YouTube channel out there, Ant TS, and he's a mortgage loan officer, and he keeps getting illegal alien homes, and he's going in, and it's like everything's still there because the family's been deported. That's simple supply and demand. That will bring prices down as well. You look at all the steps that the Trump administration is taking on the economy. Again, I don't know how you look at it and you go, that's it, we're screwed, nothing's going to get better. What do you mean? Energy prices are coming down. We have all of this investment. We have factories that are going to be breaking ground. Those factories are going to lead to long-term jobs. And guess who those jobs are going to be going to? Americans. You look at all these factors and to say that we're headed towards a recession or a depression is completely overblown. It's a media fabrication. These things take time. And the steps this administration are taking, at least to me, looks like they're working. Now, 6 months from now, I may be proven wrong, and I'll be happy to tell you I was wrong. But I don't think that that's going to be the case. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes, and we're going to start with some money news. A South Korean metal manufacturer making history in Tennessee, Korea Zinc, will invest more than $6.6 billion to build new facilities and reopen a mine. The project will create hundreds of high-paying jobs in Clarksville, Gordonsville, and Memphis. State leaders say it's the largest private investment in Tennessee's history. Two reports released this morning offer a look at the nation's employment picture and its retail landscape. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
Because the government shutdown earlier this year halted work at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the latest jobs report actually combines 2 consecutive months of data. It shows that 64,000 jobs were added to the economy last month, slightly above expectations, with the unemployment rate ticking up slightly to 4.6%. Meanwhile, the advance estimate of retail sales showed little change from September to October.
Here in Nashville, the Boring Company's proposed loop has cleared a major hurdle. An independent review of its environmental impact found no significant harm to local waterways, wildlife, or air quality. The study even predicts improved traffic flow and reduced emissions once the tunnel system's operational. With approval in hand, the project moves closer to connecting downtown to the airport. And Blue Cross Blue Shield members in Tennessee being urged to act after a recent data breach exposed personal information. The breach occurred at Conduent, a vendor handling mail and document services. It included names, addresses, birth dates, Social Security numbers. Conduent is offering 2 years of free credit monitoring and identity protection to those affected. Members should enroll by March 31st of 2026 and monitor their accounts for suspicious activity. You can enroll now at bluecrosstn.com or call the number in your notification letter. And the Pentagon says they conducted more deadly strikes on alleged drug boats. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more from Washington.
The Pentagon releasing new video overnight showing that it hit 3 more, killing at least 8 people in the Eastern Pacific. That brings the total number of these strikes since September to at least 25. The Trump administration saying that these are strikes on what they allege to be drug smuggling vessels. At least 95 people killed so far. But the administration has never publicly provided evidence that these boats are smuggling drugs, and they have never publicly identified any of the people killed in these strikes.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We love those guys. You can listen to the show anywhere. iHeart, tune in, the FM dial. You can watch the show, Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. Appreciate you doing that. The kids want a lot of good Christmas gifts, and I said, not unless we get those likes up. I said, Dad, come on. I said, no, you're gonna have to focus on that list for Santa, I guess, if we don't get these likes up, kids. So hit like and subscribe if you want the kids to have a good Christmas. Ken, we were talking a little while ago about eggnog in the hallway, and I mentioned it on the air. And do you know what people think about eggnog? They think that boiled custard is better. Numerous people in the chat feel like boiled custard is better. You know, I've never had boiled custard.
I've never had it either.
I'm just always kind of, be honest with you, I'm a little scared.
I'm scared of most things that people are like, oh, the boiled way is better.
Yeah. You ever have a cooking class in high school and they wanted you to like boil chicken? And like they think that that's an acceptable way to cook chicken?
Yeah, it's just bland and
it's never an acceptable way to cook chicken.
No, absolutely not.
No, it shouldn't be done. And I don't care who knows it.
It's an atrocity.
It is. It's an absolute atrocity. Josh Tifo's in here. He's our senior director for Turning Point USA. All around great guy. How do you feel about boiled chicken? Did you ever get that in high school?
I mean, I'm not the biggest boiled chicken fan. You know what I love is fried chicken in avocado oil. Fried chicken doesn't have to be bad for you. It can be very good for you.
Okay. All right. Josh is here at surprisingly based take, bringing out the avocado oil. Somebody was saying, we were talking about eggnog earlier. They said boiled custard is better.
I mean, I'm not an eggnog guy, but ice cream.
Eggnog ice cream, you in on that?
I mean, I would go for that.
All right.
I'm not a big dessert guy, but every once in a while, yeah.
Well, you have had a heck of a week, man. Unbelievable. Well, last week, excuse me. It's Tifo Tuesday, not Tifo Thursday. But you got the Club America chapters in Tennessee done. Congratulations on that. We spoke briefly on Friday or Thursday. I can't remember which, but we briefly spoke. How does it feel, man?
It feels good to win, but you know the culture Charlie has built at Turning Point. We don't really celebrate. We just move on to the next task. I mean, the night of inauguration earlier this year, Charlie was texting me about 2028 presidential strategy. So that's what we're doing here. I mean, we thank God for the big wins. We thank God for the wins in Florida and Texas and Tennessee. And we're on to the next ones. We're working on several other states right now. And I'm thrilled that Charlie's big dream, putting Club America chapters on 20,000 high schools in the country, is now, it's not this big, almost impossible thing. It's very feasible. We're going to have to do a lot of work, but I'm seeing all green lights, and I sure am thankful that God is blessing our work.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and congratulations again. If you're keeping score at home, we had big news last week. Tennessee creating a partnership with Turning Point USA to make sure that Club America chapters are in every high school in the state. The ripple effects from that are going to be massive. I mean, we homeschool, but so often we'll be at the playground, and then you'll see, a young kid who believes that there's some type of animal, and you're like, what is going on in the public schools? So it's like, even if you homeschool, even if you're in a private school, the ripple effects that you're going to see from this will impact you as well if you're a parent or a grandparent.
And that's why the Tennessee event meant so much to me, because this is the state I love. This is where I've lived for almost 7 years. This is where my wife and I, Lord willing, want to stay for a very long time and raise our family. And what each of us needs to do, we need to take extreme ownership of every area of life God has entrusted us with. We need to take extreme ownership over our own self-control, our own health, our marriages, our families, our communities, our states. And what needs to happen, and I'm seeing it happen one by one, the leaders of these conservative states need to take extreme ownership over what youth culture looks like in their state. They shouldn't just say, oh, well, all these leftist groups are on high schools, we'll kind of keep them in check. We should be asking, what can we do to put Christian conservative groups on our high schools? Those are the groups I want influencing our kids. And this is a reaction that I see a lot from Christians that we need to seriously question. When things get really dark in culture, I see a lot of Christians say, oh, that's so terrible. I'm just going to pull my kids and everyone in my world out of mainstream culture, and we're going to go live in the woods, and I'm going to homeschool them, and we're not going to interact with anyone. So don't get me wrong, homeschooling is a very good idea. That's what we're going to do with our kids. That's what a lot of people should do. But we are on this earth to engage culture for Jesus. And that doesn't mean that we should feed our kids to the wolves, but it certainly means that we should train up our kids with the intention of making them warriors for truth. And that's why I love Club America, because high school is such an amazing time of life for those kids you've trained up ever since they were young in the truth of the Word of God, learning about the founding of the country, learning about what really matters in life, and then turn them loose on the culture in high school so that they can reach other high schoolers who have not been gifted with that type of biblical upbringing. That's a great time for them to begin reaching out to their peers.
Yeah, you got to build that foundation and then let the kids go. And you guys are doing a great job of that. America Fest is this week in Phoenix. It's probably going to be the biggest one ever.
So by far, it's already the biggest one ever. So we have 30,000 people coming, Phoenix Convention Center, Thursday to Sunday. And we actually had to cut off registration well over a month ago.
It's insane.
Which is nuts. I mean, who knows? Maybe 100,000 people would have came to this.
That's wild. Well, congratulations on that. And I know that Charlie will be looking down, very proud. Huge speakers. J.D. Vance is going to be there. All the biggest voices in the conservative movement. You're going to be able to watch it live all weekend long on Rumble. That's how I'm going to be taking it in. I'm going to be watching along with everybody else. What are you expecting out of America Fest? Like, if somebody is sending their kids to America Fest, what does Turning Point USA equip them with to leave America Fest and do?
So the number one purpose of America Fest is for these students, high school, college, to be equipped with the truth and equipped with the tools they need to argue for the truth in every sphere of life, back at their church, back at their high school, back at their college, or maybe at their Thanksgiving dinner table. And that's one thing that I really get a kick out of. At a lot of these state partnership events, I've had the chance to meet the top students in each of these states, because depending on the state, sometimes we bring the top 50, the top 150, whatever the governors want to do,
right,
and the size of the event. And one theme that I keep hearing from a lot of these students, they want to know how to win over people in their personal lives with spiritual truth and political truth. And to see that boldness from a 16, 17-year-old walking up to me and asking how they can make the intellectual argument for the existence of God to their parents or their brothers or sisters or their uncles. I mean, that's the boldness that we need to see more of, and I'm so proud to see it. At the end of the day, there's a reason why God doesn't just save us and take us up to heaven. He leaves us here because he gave us this great commission to go out and tell the world the good news. If we were supposed to just hole up and tell our kids about Jesus and train them up to live well and then just let the rest of the world go to hell, God would take us up to heaven when we're saved. Like, that's the reality. He leaves us here after we surrender to Jesus because he has work for us to do until we get to meet him face to face.
So what does the work look like today? I mean, the headlines are insane. You have radical leftists being foiled in a terror plot for New Year's Eve in Los Angeles. You have radical Muslims attacking a Hanukkah celebration in Australia. You have some reporting saying that the Brown University shooter shouted Allahu Akbar before opening fire on the classroom. In Georgia, you saw an acid attack on this woman where the authorities are like, we don't know what happened. And it's like, you're seeing this intersection of wokeism and Mohammedism. And Charlie talked about this a lot. How do we equip the next generation to be able to deal with this?
So let's be honest first about what the red-green axis really is. And you have wokeism, you have Mohammedism at all. It seems like it wouldn't go together, but they're marching in lockstep. Why? Because they're both evil. Because they both want to wipe the Jewish people off of the planet, and because they absolutely hate biblical Christianity. They hate the truth. They are in a war against God and the way that God designed the world. And we see that in a number of ways. So here's my call, especially to young men. You need to rise up and be ready to defend your families and your communities from evil. I look at what happened at Bondi Beach and how long the shooter was there before someone stopped him. I mean, in America, there would have been somebody who dropped the terrorist very, very quickly because of the Second Amendment, because we have so many wonderful patriotic Americans who not only conceal carry to protect themselves, they conceal carry to protect their church, protect their school, protect their community. And that's what we need to see more and more of, not just in America, but nationwide. We need to see young men rise up and say, I'm going to be that alpha male who stops a terrorist attack if, God forbid, I'm ever put in that situation. That's the energy we need from young men in America.
I completely agree with that. And that was the energy we saw on display from the hero who tackled the shooter. But we also saw cowardism on display with police officers hiding behind vehicles as this shooting is taking place. And then the Australian government calls for more gun control. It's like, how? What are you trying to do here? Why is this the response that we're seeing?
Because you're seeing the death of masculinity in Australia. And it's a shame to see, but I mean, that's what happens when there aren't a lot of strong, godly alpha males who are there to protect their civilization. I mean, you have terrorists who can just shoot at people for a long time until someone tackles them. How wild is it that somebody had to tackle him? Somebody tackled him before he got shot. How crazy is that?
It's insane. And God bless him for doing it. How do we wake those young men up, though? Because, like, is the indoctrination, like, when you look at some of these Western countries, are they too far gone? Is the indoctrination in Australia or the UK or Germany or France, is it so thick that there aren't any strong men that can wake up to what's going on, or not enough at the very least?
And here's why it's not too far gone. Because the gospel of Jesus Christ can change someone's heart in a second. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. It may seem like somebody is too far gone. They've built their lives on feminism. They've built their lives on socialism. They've built their lives on all the things that lead to misery and the degradation of society. Jesus can turn your heart around in 1 second. And if you're one of those people listening, that's my challenge to you. If you think you're too far gone, if you're struggling with drug addiction, if you're struggling with a bad divorce, if you're struggling with losing custody of your kids, I don't know what your struggle may be or who I'm talking to. But Jesus can turn your life around right now. Romans 10:9 says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And I know we talk about this on the show a lot. Jesus is not waiting for you to clean up your life so you can then come to him. He wants to clean up your life right now. That's why he died. That's why he's the perfect Lamb of God who took away the sins of the world. And that's what Christmas is all about. God sent his son as a baby. I mean, what a humble act that the creator of the universe sent his son as a baby to grow up, live a perfect life, die on the cross for the sins of all of mankind, and then rise again from the grave to forever conquer evil. That's the God we serve, and we give that a lot of lip service, and maybe we set up a little nativity in our yard, and we send our kids to Sunday school because we don't want them to be bad people. That's not the purpose of Christianity. Jesus didn't come so that we can live nice, good, docile lives. Jesus came so that we can pick up the sword of the Spirit and we can fight evil. And right now we're at a point in American culture where evil is no longer in the shadows. It makes me think of a conversation I had with one of the lead pastors in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic when I was a teenager. I was on a medical mission trip. And he talked to me in his kind of broken English. I'll never forget this conversation. And explained to me the situation I was in America. He said, here in Santo Domingo, we fight evil face to face, and we look at people who are demon-possessed, and we deal with some of the most horrific, evil, vile, obvious manifestations of Satan and demons you could imagine. And Satan is even more powerful in your country because he's convinced most of your country he does not exist. That moment is beginning to end in the United States of America, and you are seeing evil face to face. Here are some very clear, obvious examples. We're seeing abortion celebrated. We're seeing 12, 13, 14-year-olds castrated because of this message that boys can become girls and girls can become boys. We are spitting in the face of our Creator and his design, and we shouldn't be surprised when civilization degrades and you see evil face to face, especially with a lot of this red-green axis stuff and a lot of the Muslim terrorist attacks. These are people who hate God, and they hate America because we were founded as a Christian nation. And I know that all of you libs hear that and you're kicking and screaming right now. We were founded as a Christian nation. Almost all of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were outspoken Christians. I mean, you can hate it, but it's true. And at the end of the day, God has used America in so many ways to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth. I mean, how many of the great missionaries who reached many of the unreached peoples in every corner of the earth have come from America in the last 200 years. There's a reason why Satan is targeting us. There's a reason why specifically Satan is going after the young men of our country. And I'm troubled by what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing a lot of young men in the conservative movement who are following a lot of the bad actors, a lot of the fake masculine men, like the Tate brothers and Nick Fuentes, and a lot of these guys who pretend that they're going against the system, but really they're running from secular leftism into something even worse, which is this fake, fragile masculinity that's all about self and not about serving God and women and children as God designed masculinity to be.
So you can point to Fuentes and you can point to the Tate brothers, but there was men that dropped the ball before those guys assumed the role.
And they assume the role because godly, strong voices in culture stopped speaking with power to young men. And we lost the greatest of those voices on September 10th. That is another reason why this is becoming an increasing problem. There's a tremendous void that needs to be filled. That's the reality.
So how do you regain that territory?
So young, godly, strong men need to rise up together and fill that void. And that starts in your own heart. That starts in your marriage. That starts in your home. And I get it. A lot of you listening, you're like, oh, I want to be the next Charlie Kirk. So first, there's not going to be another Charlie Kirk.
No.
Charlie was the greatest debater of our time. But God can rise up a number of leaders who together can make more of an impact on American culture than any one man ever could. And that could be part of Charlie's legacy, igniting that revolution amongst young men in America. So that'd be my advice. And also, I'll give a more specific point of advice. If you haven't, read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, one of the most important books of our time. And it is absolutely necessary for every young man to read. I learned so many things in that book, which have been so important as I've led my marriage, led my family, and as I've progressed through some oftentimes very intense and tricky business situations over the last decade as we've built Turning Point. So that'd be an action item for all you young men out there. By Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And actually, I'm going to give you an email. If you read it and you want to kind of talk with me about what you learned, shoot an email to weston@tpusa.com, WESTON@tpusa.com. I would love to talk with you. I mean, that book changed my life. You need to take extreme ownership over your own life, the relationships God has given you to lead. And then out of that, who knows? Maybe God is going to make you a big national voice for the movement.
Lord willing. It's 11:23. We'll have more with Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, on the way. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Better Water LLC. If you need a last-minute gift, how about a brand new home water filter? Your family will thank you. The frogs will thank you. Everybody loves them. If you're tired of weird smells, stains, or just plain bad-tasting water at the house or the office, these are the guys you need to call. They can handle removing all of the nasty stuff from your water, and you could have some nasty stuff in there. Sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, even E. coli. Nobody wants that. So Better Water's going to come in, and they got a range of options. Reverse osmosis, specialized filters, UV lights. Better Water has you covered. They can do one for your whole house. They can scale it down for under your sink. But these guys are the ones you can trust. Local company based out of Smyrna. You're probably already tasting their work because they treat all the water at the coffee shops around town and at the hospitals around town as well. So just stop drinking the junk out of your tap. I mean, that's the simplest thing you can do. Call Better Water today, 615-355-6063, 615-355-6063, or find them online, betterwater.com.
A record-breaking investment headed to Tennessee. Hear how billions of dollars could reshape the state's economy. Coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water, LLC. Josh Tifo's in here, Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. We have to say the action because we talk a little bit about politics.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And we don't want to get anybody in trouble. We were talking off the air about AmFest, and Josh said to me, he said, who are you most excited to see? And I said, let me pull up the lineup real quick. So this is the way my brain works, okay? And maybe it's just me. Vivek Ramaswamy. I am curious to see how the conservative movement reacts to him. At one time, he was like a big favorite, an up-and-comer guy in the movement. But since he went pro H-1B visas, it seems like a lot of the conservatives just went, no, not for me, not for me.
I'm interested to see how he makes the argument to AmFest, because AmFest is his chance to try to sell that to the grassroots movement, because you look at the 30,000 people who are there, almost all of the leaders of the movement will be there.
Yep.
And then the ones who are not there are going to be watching. So it's his chance to make his pitch. I don't know how you make that pitch to the grassroots right now, especially given what you and I have spoken about on air pretty extensively. I mean, AI is significantly optimizing the economy, and it's creating this future where there will just be fewer corporate jobs. Somebody who used to need to hire an office full of 400 people to run their business will need 200 people. So why on earth would you increase H-1B visas whatsoever?
Why would you increase any kind of immigration at all? I'm more in the Chip Roy camp of we need to pause it like immediately.
And the one caveat is I don't know what Trump does behind the scenes. So you never know if Trump is trying to increase the number of H-1B visas for a specific country because he's getting something else. And Trump knows things we don't. That's the one carve-out that I'll give. But overall, I don't understand why we would have any increase in legal immigration whatsoever when we already have too much economically right now.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think that Vivek can win the governorship in Ohio? I mean, I know you guys got boots on the ground everywhere. What are you hearing out of the Ohio governor race?
I think he has a very strong chance of winning. He's won over a lot of the right people. If he does a decent job of at least helping voters understand why he's for the H-1B visas, then he's going to win. One thing I'll say about Vivek, because I knew him personally before he was a politician, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. So talk about someone the left really doesn't want to be a governor in an important state, it would 100% be Vivek.
Is that the launch pad to him eventually one day trying to get back to the presidency?
I mean, he may. I wouldn't be surprised if that's an attempt he makes.
How do you feel about, we talk a lot about Christianity and being a Christian nation. Would you have an issue with Vivek Ramaswamy, he's Hindi? Does that impact how you vote?
So I will say what I have done, which is I've endorsed J.D. Vance for president in 2028. So he is a strong Christian man who I want leading the free world. Vivek will make a great governor. I 100% support him as governor of Ohio, but for president, there's no one I'd even consider other than JD right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. 11:30, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers, we've got construction getting in the way. 24 westbound in Whites Creek. Rolling roadblocks for potholes. This is between Old Hickory Boulevard North and Whites Creek Pike. And then in Rowell Hill, we got a stalled vehicle blocking the right lane. 24 westbound past Bell Road. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Big news for Tennessee's economy. Korea Zinc bringing a $6.6 billion investment to the state. The company plans new smelting operations in Clarksville and a reopened mine in Gordonsville. Memphis will also see an expansion, adding hundreds of jobs. Officials call this a game changer for critical mineral production in the U.S. And a new report says the minimum wage is not cutting it if you want to live in Nashville. Channel 4's Holly Thompson.
According to Realtor.com, the price for rent in Nashville, Murfreesboro, and Franklin, it all averages out to be about $1,500 a month. That means people making $7.25 an hour would have to work 83 hours a week to be able to afford an apartment. Nashville just ranked among the top 5 cities in the country where minimum wage workers have to work the most hours just to afford the cost cost of living.
From the Metro Council chambers, a big decision on the horizon for Nashville neighborhoods. Metro Council set to vote on a bill that limits the height of single-family homes on narrow lots, those so-called tiny, skinny homes. The measure would cap most houses at 2.5 stories instead of 3. Supporters say it protects neighborhood character and privacy. Critics warn it could reduce housing supply and make homes less affordable by restricting urban density. The final vote happens tonight. We'll let you know what it is. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. If you've been thinking about replacing your HVAC, or if you need to replace your HVAC, usually you don't think about it. Usually you need to do it. Well, right now is one of those moments where it actually makes sense to act. There are real savings on the table. The federal 25C tax credit can put up to $2,000 back in your pocket on a new central AC and furnace, or up to $3,200 if you go with a high-efficiency heat pump. These credits are going to expire on December 31st, 2025. On top of that, you can stack TVA Energy Right rebates worth hundreds more on select high-efficiency systems. So if you've been thinking, or if you've been feeling it, and you need to replace that HVAC system, you could save a lot of money by scheduling with something with Busy Bee today. And then Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling will add another $1,000 off any new HVAC replacement, 15 SEER or higher. That's federal credits, TVA rebates, and Busy Bee savings all working together. You are going to win big. 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com. It's 11:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You can watch the show on YouTube and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Growing the digital footprint of the radio station is massive. And I told my kids, the more likes, the more Christmas gifts. So it's on you now. You like that? Sometimes you have to threaten the audience a little bit. Like, don't ruin the kids' Christmas. Hit like and subscribe. Josh Tifo's in here, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. You guys got a big weekend ahead of you with America Fest. We were just looking over some of the speakers. The lineup it always amazes me how you guys can bring about all of these voices into one place for one weekend. J.D. Vance, Erica Kirk, Steve Bannon, Trump Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Megyn Kelly, Jesse Waters, Michael Knowles, Jack Posobiec, Sean Duffy. I mean, you have the biggest names and voices in the administration and the biggest names and voices that are doing investigative reporting and influencing and the like. Everybody is going to be descending on Phoenix this weekend.
And here's what I absolutely love about how we design the AmFest lineup. We want the leaders of our movement to do battle ideologically so that activists can decide for themselves what they believe. Perfect example, we have Ben Shapiro speaking and we have Tucker Carlson speaking. And they are both going to talk about whatever they want, especially pertaining to Israel. That's going to be a hot topic. And that is exactly what Charlie would want. Charlie would want AmFest to be the battle place of ideas where that 19-year-old activist who runs a huge chapter at Auburn University can learn from the best of the best, holding different viewpoints in the movement and decide what he believes is the truth.
And we saw that on full display at SAS when you had the debate between, it was Dave Smith and Josh Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I loved about Charlie. Let the ideas work themselves out. The good stuff will rise to the top. It's when you try to silence people and shut it down that it's like, why are you doing that?
And fundamentally, that is why the left went scorched earth to shut down all major conservative voices during COVID and in those dark ages before Elon liberated Twitter. Before Elon liberated Twitter, now X, then there was not pressure on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram to actually allow most viewpoints on their platform. So it was very easy for the federal government to manipulate them and pressure them and say, you're not going to allow that type of speech on your platform. So the only way the left could win in popular culture, because their ideas just suck, is to silence our voices. So as soon as they couldn't silence us anymore, they began losing, and they began losing quickly.
Yeah. Oh, it was, and it's like they shot themselves in the foot. It was the Barbara Streisand effect. I remember the Biden administration put out a list and it was like, this is the disinfo dozen. Oh, if you're going to listen to anybody, make sure it's not one of these 12. And I literally went, as soon as I saw the list, I'm following all of these people.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of working Americans do who don't trust the institutions, people like me.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of young Americans did too. And they fed into what was and still is Turning Point's ethos, Turning Point's greatest weapon in culture. We are the rebels. And there's nothing cooler, there's nothing more punk rock than being a young conservative in the United States of America right now. And when they do tone-deaf things like that, it just makes it even cooler to be a conservative.
It is. It's the most rebellious thing you can do is, go graduate high school and start working and start your own business and be Christian and get a wife and have a family. It's the most rebellious thing you can do in the country. You mentioned Elon Musk, the $600 billion man. Him buying Twitter absolutely changed the game. Him jumping into the presidential race also changed the game. It seems that Trump and Elon are back on good terms, and there's talks that Elon is going to jump in and support Republicans in the midterms. How big of an impact is that going to make?
It will have a sizable impact and give us an actual chance at winning the midterms, because as you see with the Matt versus Afton race pretty recently here in Nashville, there is a very difficult enthusiasm gap. The left is very fired up. They see Trump saying things every day. They want to throw these Republicans out of office. And within the Turning Point grassroots wing of the party, I'm seeing a lot of enthusiasm. I'm seeing more energy than ever. But amongst the establishment GOP world, I'm not seeing a lot of it, which makes the midterm situation pretty tough. Turning Point Action is going to play big in a handful of states and a handful of races we believe are strategically important. But you just need a ridiculous amount of money to perform well in a midterm race when you are going culturally uphill. And Elon has the financial capacity to do that. I'll never forget, I was at this DC event many, many years ago, back when Kevin McCarthy was the House Minority Leader. We weren't in the majority again yet. And he gave this super detailed statistical presentation. I think it was to a bunch of media and donors at some DC thing. I think it was at the Hay Adams. Of course it was. And he broke down how we can win. I think it was an analysis of the 2018 race right before Election Day. And all these things we had to do, we couldn't do. And then at the end, his last slide was, but at the end of the day, whoever raises more money is almost always going to win. And he had all the percentages. So essentially, he said, this is all our strategy, but whoever spends more money just running ads for the voters is probably going to win. Think about how crazy that is. That's how low info a lot of these congressional races are, because most everyday Americans do not care who their congressman or congresswoman is.
And it actually, there's a lot of people in politics who are so mad about the money that's involved. How do we fix that? Is there ever a time when we could salary cap politics the way we salary cap sports?
So it sounds like a great idea in theory, but it actually opens the door for even more corruption, because then the people in power can use their office to bring name ID to the people they want as their successors. And then insurgent candidates will not be in a position to raise a lot of money from the people if they want someone different. So at first glance, it seems like a fix. It would actually make the problem worse.
Really?
Yeah, I fundamentally believe that.
So what is the strategy to win in 2026? I mean, I had said, and I said this to you off air, and I remember I said, with the enthusiasm gap, I thought one of the best things that could happen to us would be Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning and Van Epps losing and us losing the majority before midterms, because I thought that might be the only thing that could wake up Republican voters. Obviously, we saw the victory of Van Epps. I don't see what's going to wake up Republican voters.
So I look at the Matt versus Afton race, and we see that when the Trump machine and the Turning Point machine gets activated, and you see Trump doing teletown halls, you see Speaker Johnson doing events all day, you see Riley talking about this all the time, you see people like me talking about this all the time, you can help get people across the finish line, but only winning by 9 in that race is a big red flag. Thankfully, we won. Matt's going to be an amazing congressman. I really believe that. But you need, if you have an enthusiasm gap, then you need to spend a lot of money for a lot of these races where, I mean, it's two people no one's ever heard of. The problem is, and Turning Point USA is going to do a lot of work to fix this in the coming decades, the problem is most Americans don't care who's representing them in Congress. And that is one thing that I don't think the Founding Fathers ever predicted as a possibility. You look at the way that they set up this representative government, I don't think it ever crossed their mind that we would hit a point in American history where most people don't care who's representing them in Congress. We have to reach a point in culture where it is important as an American to know and care about who's representing you, at least enough to be informed and vote. And one thing that I tell a lot of people who are not that political, this is not their world, they don't like politics, I challenge them to, hey, if you don't want to watch Fox News every night, that's up to you. Live your life how you want. But before you vote, you need to get informed, talk with people you trust about what's really going on, vote, and then, hey, forget about it until the next election. If that's how you want to live your life, go for it. But it is your responsibility and duty as a citizen of this great country to make sure you have people representing you who at least have kind of aligned themselves with your values.
Amen. So one of the big talking points, at least in the early part of the campaign, is going to be affordability. It's going to be the economy. Am I wrong in thinking that once we get 6 months down the road that talking point is going to evaporate for the left?
I hope so. One thing that absolutely must happen is we need to see a lowering of the interest rates. So we'll see what the Fed does. We'll see how the president handles that situation. But we're in a fragile political moment now because we won 2024 essentially on a promissory note that we were going to make the American dream affordable for working class Americans again. We were going to make the American dream affordable for young Americans again. And we have begun to make good on that promise, but we're not all the way there yet. So unless it is reasonably affordable to achieve these important life markers, making sure that you can afford to feed your family decently healthy food, making sure that you can live in a decently nice house if you have a typical middle-class job, if we cannot deliver on these promises, the left will win in the midterms just because we have failed to deliver on the promises that the American people expected after voting for us, giving us their confidence in 2024.
What does it look like if the left wins?
It's going to be a circus. You're going to see all these fake impeachments. It's going to be very bad for America. We saw what this looked like the last 2 years of the Trump term. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it would be that different legislatively. It would obviously be bad. It's not what I want. But right now, we're not getting a ton done. We are afraid to take on the establishment wings of the party. We're afraid to take on the lobbyists. And there are a lot of grassroots conservatives who are feeling very frustrated now with the lack of productivity from Congress.
Yeah, President Trump was talking about this yesterday, especially when it comes to the blue slip. He's upset that he can't get his attorneys and judges through. And if we don't win the midterms, this is obviously going to be a continuation. This was President Trump yesterday.
I think they should get rid of blue slips because as a Republican president, I am unable to put anybody in office having to do with U.S. attorneys or having to do with judges. In other words, if you have one, not two, you don't need two, just one. If you have one Democrat senator, where we have a lot of them, you have one Democrat senator in a state, it is not possible to appoint, because of blue slips, a judge. It's not possible to appoint a U.S. attorney. You see that happening. And I think it's a disgrace. I think blue slips are a disgrace. They've long since, they should not be relevant anymore.
So when you see what's going on with the blue slip, you see what's going on with the filibuster, what do you say to voters who go, the Republicans just don't fight hard enough?
Well, they are not fighting hard enough. And a lot of these people care more about tradition than they care about the well-being of the American people. And I get it. You're in the D.C. club. You got elected. You're a federal official. You care about your legacy. Do you want your legacy to be that you fought for the people you represented and you held dear the values that those warriors in the American Revolution died for? Or do you want your legacy to be that you marched in lockstep with these people who are destroying our country because you want to get invited to charity events in D.C.? What do you want your legacy to be?
Seems like a lot of them would choose the latter.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's correct. And if that's what they're doing, then we should throw them out of office. That's why we have primaries.
How do we root those individuals out? I mean, how do we expose them? How do we shine a light on that? And because I feel like one of the ways that we can wake these politicians up is mockery and embarrassment. And if you mock them enough and you embarrass them, they change their tune.
And also pressure from the people in their district they represent, which goes a lot further than you'd think because of the dynamic we talked about 5 minutes ago. Most people do not really think that much about who's representing them in Congress. So when the grassroots makes any type of sizable effort to contact their congressman or congresswoman because they're not happy about something, it oftentimes leads to results. So think about it this way. Let's say that you have a patriot like Matt Van Epps in office. That's amazing. They're probably going to make the right decision most of the time. Let's say that you have somebody who just goes wherever the wind blows, and you can't primary them out because they're not up for another year and a half, and there's something important going on this week. So if you know that they go wherever the wind blows, then what does the grassroots need to do? We need to be the stronger wind. We need to be a stronger wind than the lobbyist class, a stronger wind than the establishment offering them money. And that's what the grassroots can do, but we need to show up. Turning Point Action does a spectacular job of organizing these people. And that's why state by state, whenever there's an important fight, you see Turning Point Action activists just pop up. All of a sudden, it's getting national media attention. Tyler Boyer, the head of operations at Turning Point Action, does a great job of keeping his finger on the pulse here. And I love the energy from Trump publicly decrying the blue slips. But you look at blue slips, you look at the filibuster. I mean, do we care about delivering on what we promised to the American people, or do we care about silly tradition that's not in the Constitution?
Seriously.
That's what all of us should be asking any congressman who represents us, who is not standing with the American people. Because mark my words, if we do not make it decently affordable to buy good food and decent housing for working families in this country, there is no amount of money that can save the 2026 midterms.
It's crazy. What are the odds? Where do you place things? I mean, you're a mover and a shaker. You're paying attention to these things. Like if the election was held tomorrow, what happens?
So I won't put odds, but if the election was held tomorrow, we probably lose pretty bad. We need to do a much better job of delivering on our promises for affordability. Not talking about it, not a big PR campaign. What is Congress going to do to make it easier to live the American dream as somebody who works with their hands in this country? That is a promise we have not fulfilled yet, and we absolutely must. And it's only going to become more difficult as AI optimizes the economy and there are fewer jobs. So we're not even talking about that problem in the future yet. We're talking about this problem right now. Are we going to deliver on the 2024 promises so that we have a fighting chance in 2026?
What would you tell an individual who's listening to this and says, I want to get involved? What do I do? How do I start? Where do I begin?
So if you want to join the TP Action Army, where we will deploy you digitally or in person to all of these important fights as they're happening all over the country, go to tpaction.com, tpaction.com, and just click on Get Involved, put in your information. And what we will do is we will send you to the states where that big fight is. We will deploy you to make phone calls, send texts, send emails where it matters and where we know we can make a difference. Tyler is essentially the head of the political grassroots Turning Point Action, hold the establishment politicians' feet to the fire movement. And you can join that army, tpaction.com, tpaction.com.
I mean, that's a huge deal, and it definitely helped in the 2024 election. I mean, 7 out of 7 swing states, you can absolutely hang your hat on Turning Point being a huge part of that victory.
100%. So actually, if it were not for the youth vote swing, which we were primarily responsible for, then we would have lost every battleground state except Georgia. We would have barely won Georgia, and then Kamala would have gone 6 out of 7.
It's insane.
And would have demonstrably won the White House. We'd be in a very different time right now. I mean, who knows, Chris, you and I might be in jail.
Yeah, honestly.
We'd get to work out a lot.
We'd be buff. We'd be buff, but we'd be in prison, 3 hots in a cot.
Do they have protein powder in jail?
Dude, I said to my mother and father-in-law, I said, if we lose this election, the house might get raided by the FBI. And I just want you to know I didn't do anything wrong. Mm. What was the training process like as you were bringing people in for the 2024 election to deploy them to these states? Because it's not like you were just popping them on an airplane and throwing them off to Wisconsin and saying good luck.
It was an extensive HR operation, and thank God we prepared for well over a year for this. So Charlie and Tyler put together a meticulous plan for how we would train them, what the curriculum would look like, and we had the biggest asset of any grassroots organization in the movement, which is why we were able to do this at a scale no conservative group ever has done before. We have been, we meant to, but we weren't always thinking about it. We have been training these activists ever since our first summits in 2015. So all these big summits, they're not just big rah-rah rallies. They are training summits for the future leaders of the movement. So we had this pool of, at this point, tens of thousands of activists who would absolutely love to get paid to knock on doors and chase ballots with all of the data presented to them in a folder for 3 months leading up to the election. So that part was not difficult at all. And that was the reason why we were able to execute Chase the Vote at such an extraordinary level. That's why we were able to chase almost 400,000 low prop votes in Arizona and Wisconsin. That's a staggering number. It's never been done by any political group before that, at least that I've been aware of. And we were able to do it because we had this enormous pool of activists we had already identified and trained from all the Turning Point summits and events for 10, 11 years.
It's unbelievable what was done, and it was an honor to be a part of it. If you've been looking for a way to get involved, tpaction.com. Josh, how can we keep up with you? I mean, you're going to be busy all weekend long, so your social media is going to be a good place to keep an eye on what's happening behind the scenes at America Fest. Where can we find you?
100%. You can find me on all platforms at Josh Tifo, THIFAULT. At Josh Tifo, THIFAULT.
Well, safe travels this weekend. Are you gonna stray outside of In-N-Out Burger? Because when you went for Charlie's Memorial, you did the same thing we did.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot of In-N-Out Burger.
There's gonna be a lot of In-N-Out Burger. Yeah. Have you been to Tennessee yet?
No, not yet. I heard the lines were crazy, and they're building one like minutes from my house. So I'm waiting.
You got to do it, man. We went out on Friday, and it was Friday, and we were celebrating the legislation that was passed, and we celebrated with In-N-Out because a lot of people don't know this, but Charlie would do In-N-Out Fridays, where every Friday the company got free In-N-Out, and so it was like it was very it was like a full circle moment, and we cheers to an In-N-Out Burger, and we said a little prayer, and it was a good moment.
That's fantastic. Yep, that's going to be a big part of my diet. You're about to see what it looks like when somebody who works out all the time eats In-N-Out almost every day. So it could be bad, could be good, but we're about to find out.
We'll find out together for the next edition of TIFO Tuesdays, which will happen next Tuesday after America Fest. Josh, thanks for coming in. My name is Chris Hand. I got to tell you about my friends at Parker Safes and Vaults. If you're looking for a last-minute Christmas gift, it's going to keep everybody in the family safe, keep all your family heirlooms protected. You got to go with Parker's in Shelbyville. These guys are the best. If you find their YouTube page, Parker Safes and Vaults, Aaron Parker, who is a former Air Force security officer, park ranger, great guy. he reviews all of the safes that they have, and you can learn about his expertise from those YouTube videos. You can learn about the safe you want, and this is why I trust Parker Safes and Vaults. Veteran-owned Christian family business, been in Tennessee since 2009. Their gun safes protect rifles, pistols, optics, gear, but they'll protect the jewelry, the wedding rings, the passports, the photo albums, all the stuff you don't want to lose in a fire as well. And this December, if you mention the Chris Hand Show, you'll receive a free gift with your new gun safe. Give them a call today. You won't be disappointed. 931-842-6445. That's 931-842-6445. You're going to have a safe Christmas with Parker Safes and Vaults. Parker